For 1,000 years, one man emerges from the depths of the sand of the earth to bring forth wonders and pain among this world. A man so powerful, his work can strike love and hate into the hearts of all mankind. Legends say the only way to defeat this man is to analyze his work, to inform which art is worthy and which is suffering. Join us as we take a look at the one, the only, Adam Sandler.
What's up, you headbanging hellions and you rockin' rebels? We are back with a new and improved episode of the Sandman Chronicles after a very, very long hiatus. Today we are going to be discussing the 1994 film Airheads. As always, I am joined by my co-host Allie.
Yep.
And we are joined by a very special friend of the show, Jed, also known as DJed of DJed's Metal Madness. DJed, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, and I'll be going by Jed. DJed's a bit of a character, but...
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I'm here. I did a radio show at KANM Student Radio at Texas A&M University. All around metalhead, rocker kind of dude, filmmaker, all the good stuff. And that was the whole reason I was interested in this film years ago until I heard it was bad, and I just didn't get around to watching it. But yeah.
That's right. And the reason we chose you, again, like I think you got into this already, but the reason we chose you for this special episode is because this is a very rock and roll metal themed movie, and we wanted a metal rock and roll expert who has actually worked in a radio station to be the forefront of this episode, to give us what in this thing you related to and what did you not relate to. I guess before we begin, we should discuss Airheads, the movie itself. We had a very hard time finding this movie. It's not streaming anywhere on any platforms. I think I saw recently it was on, I guess, like they're airing it on Cinemax again, but that's about it. The DVDs go for $100 on Amazon. I couldn't even really find a way to pirate it, but Allie happened to get this DVD for us on eBay, right?
Yeah, eBay.
All right, awesome. And so give a round of applause for Allie for helping us find this movie. Because without her, we would have just had to skip it, and then we would have been not the best Adam Sandler podcast on the platform.
Yeah, I was really surprised that it was so difficult to find. It was like it didn't exist.
It's so bizarre, because like I first saw this on like Netflix years ago, and then it like just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's also weird just because it's not like this is just like a no-name movie. There's a bunch of stars in here. You got Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler, and a lot more. You have like cameos by like rock people. You have like an original soundtrack. So it's weird how it almost seems like, I'm not going to say they buried this movie, but they definitely don't care about it. I just find it strange.
Yeah, looking at, knowing these different like rock stars and stuff that I've enjoyed, I've always heard about their cameos. Matter of fact, when I watched this, I had flashbacks when I saw Lemmy appear, because I would see like these lists like, top 10 rock star metal musician cameos, and there was of course Lemmy in that one scene. Well, it's not even in a scene, it's like a split second, but we'll get to later.
Of course, but
yeah, I knew of it well enough, and the soundtracks and the songs some of the bands did for the movie. So,
all right. Well, in that case, Jed, do you kind of want to explain the plot of the movie, kind of give us the basic gist, and then we'll get into kind of our thoughts on it?
Yeah. So it's the '90s, ladies and gentlemen. It's still dealing with the fallout of the hair metal of the '80s. Yet grunge has taken over the scene, and people realizing the thrash scene, the GNR, giving you a little bit of a historical backdrop. And so, anyways, no, it was band in LA trying to make it big. What a shocker! What a shocker!
And who is in this band?
Who's in this band? Oh my goodness! The Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler are no two strangers to their movies. But Brendan Fraser was such a curveball. He's the main guy. He's the frontman, the singer, guitarist. and they make up this band. They're trying to make it big. Can't get a break, so they sort of hijack a radio station. They walk in with the intention of just trying to, be a thorn in their side, play our tape, and then impromptu Steve Buscemi's character pulls out a fake toy gun that looks like the real deal. For starters, who the fuck has a toy gun that looks so real like that? There's like a rule of law. It's got to have an orange tip. But anyways.
Well, actually, to be fair, Jed, I think there is a line saying that it was a recalled toy.
Oh, okay.
And it was recalled for that reason. I want to say that's a thing.
They had a whole arsenal of these realistic looking guns that were just water guns.
For better and for worse, things go right and go wrong, and it's just ridiculous. It's crazy. And it kind of ends, do we get into spoilers here?
Let's not get into spoilers right now, but just to be clear, we are going to get into spoilers.
Spoiling for them, a 25-year-old bombed very early Adam Sandler, Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi movie.
There is one lonely man out there who will shed a tear. I want to say it came out in 92, and Pulp Fiction came out in 94.
I'm getting confused. Okay, so Steve Buscemi wasn't a no-name. I'm getting my shit confused.
Yeah. Steve Buscemi was in all the Coen brothers movies, but he played bit parts. But overall, Jed.
Yes, sir.
As you are a rock and roll fan, you have led a rock and roll radio station. What did you think of the movie?
I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. Well, I mean, I don't want to say at all. Ooh, and this is a huge, there's this sort of pandering in here. I kind of want to get into. It's kind of a bit of a vent.
Okay.
I mean, it could have been done better. It really could have done. It's not a bad concept, and it would have been better if I feel like it was more whimsical. And it did not feel whimsical at all. It was trying, but
define whimsical.
Oh crap. I would say Wayne's World. Let's compare this to Wayne's World. You've seen Wayne's World? Anyone here?
I've seen most of Wayne's World.
Oh gosh. Am I the only here that's seen Wayne's World?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh god. So Wayne's World does a better job making fun of these stereotypes and cliches, but also not being tone deaf with this sort of community of fans who go out to shows all the damn time. And
well, that's not the only thing this is tone deaf about. But
yeah. There's a
we'll get into that
pile of shit here. But,
yeah.
As a whole, in regards to its identity and what it's trying to be, it's tone deaf and it doesn't really execute it properly. And I go to Wayne's World with this because it was pretty recent, kind of same time, couple years difference, and it hit the mark a lot better. And I think it had Chris Farley. Yeah, Chris Farley was in the second one. I love him in that one.
Yeah.
He's trying to set up the festival. Anyways, and if you want to compare it to more recent releases, and of course that's a huge tangent, Deathgasm is a movie I really like that is a similar thing. A movie out of New Zealand. It's just Evil Dead with a bunch of death metal heads, and it's funny and it's stupid and it's great. This to me, it's trying to pander, but it's failing. It's failing immensely. It doesn't understand the audience. The cameos and the soundtrack are nice, but it just misses the mark, and it feels cheap. There's crap like this and stuff in the 80s, and I'm like, man, you kind of just don't get it. And I know that sounds really cheesy or stupid, but I want to I want to go to a movie like this where it understands the audience is trying to hit of sort of this sort of community and fans, and you're just this it's kind of on point. So you're saying there's not a whole lot of passion behind it. There's not a whole lot of it. You can tell it wasn't made by a music
like a rock and roll fan, more just like a casual fan.
Yeah, it's not even so much like a you don't have to be like a super duper hardcore fan, as long as you just like know a few things here and there and be like, hey man, what's the scene looking like now? And then you can just it could have done so much better, especially with a lot what was going on in the 90s, but it just doesn't.
I understand.
Okay, I disagree on the latter because I did actually like this. I saw it once with Allie.
Yes.
And I actually thought it was a really like fun movie, and I was like, oh man, if this aired on TV a lot when I was a kid, I would consider this kind of like a classic for me. Not like an amazing movie, but I'd be like, yeah, I have fond memories of watching that.
That's how I am with you.
And yeah, well, oh god, okay, well,
I taste because I liked the movie when I was in middle school and just sentimental about it.
I'm just saying, good thing we're not watching Joe Dirt on this podcast. But no, but the entire time, me and Allie were like, man, Jed is gonna love this movie. And then I saw it again. I've seen this movie twice, with you, Jed. I saw it with you. And the absolute like disappointment and kind of shock on my face when you just kept complaining about the movie and how much you didn't like it did make me like it less. I will be honest, but overall I still thought it was a pretty fun movie, and overall I do enjoy it. I actually do think there is some charm to it though.
I don't deny that. Like, this idea of seeing a band kind of just come up and take shit by the horns, it's a fun thing to see, like fuck everything, but like it just was just executed so poorly to me. And it's not so much all the jokes fell flat, but most of them were. Like, I could tell like they were trying to be funny here, and it was not working. Or it can be like something later we see with the crowd in front and a certain chant, which we'll get to later.
Of course. The most iconic scene in the film.
It really is. To me, that took the fucking cake, but later.
Yeah. But Allie, what are your overall thoughts on Airheads?
I mean, I wasn't judging it as a movie like on its own. I was kind of judging it as an Adam Sandler movie. And, you know, as a refresher, the last movie we watched besides Hubie Halloween, which had just come out, this is the second movie, I believe, second like big movie, and the first one was Going Overboard. So going overboard to Airheads was phenomenal, like compared to Going Overboard, because Going Overboard wasn't even a movie, really. Airheads is at least a movie. So my expectations were very low, and it surpassed it.
Yeah, I want to state something like, all right, for starters, it's ironic hearing you say like, oh yeah, this is an Adam Sandler movie, which it is. It does not feel like an Adam Sandler movie though. Like,
yeah,
he is not the focal point.
I guess we should clarify that this is I made a rule saying that Adam Sandler had, if we're going to cover a movie on this podcast, Adam Sandler either had to be the main character or a very strong supporting character. And Adam Sandler is a very strong supporting character in this. He is not the lead. The lead is Brendan Fraser. He is clearly supposed to be the main character. And Adam Sandler, I guess we'll talk about him for a little bit. He is kind of what we were saying in Going Overboard. Adam Sandler was not like this, like, gooba gabba de goo, and, you know, the big kind of man-child yelling at everything, and reacting very angrily and very over-the-top to, you know, everything. He was more skittish. He kind of played up his skittishness a lot in his stand-up comedy and kind of his earlier roles. And this is kind of par for the course here. It was really weird seeing Adam Sandler being, like, the most, like, I wouldn't call him the straight man, but being the most, like, kind of cowardly and be like, guys, we really shouldn't be doing this, man. We're gonna get in trouble. And there was only maybe one scene where he, like, yelled and screamed at the top of his lungs when he's, like, I guess being trained to be tougher with the hostages.
Oh, yeah, I was like trying to remember, like, what part are you talking about? I was like, then it just hit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it was very different seeing Adam Sandler like this. And I thought Adam Sandler in this film was fine. I mean, obviously this is not, like, really the movie to test out his acting chops, but yeah, I wouldn't even really call this an Adam Sandler movie as just a movie with Adam Sandler in it. Although there are a couple Adam Sandler alumni in this film, but we
Yes.
can get into that a little bit later.
Yes.
I think the way I would describe his character is kind of like dumb,
Yeah.
and just kind of too innocent for his own good. For
A
to
simpleton.
somebody that's trying to hold up a radio station at gunpoint. He's just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is really funny to think about, considering his later roles, but I honestly think that he was meant to be kind of like a dumb jock. Like, I think he was supposed to be the hot one. Do you guys know what I mean?
Shoot. Yes, you're right. I
I think he was supposed to be like the dumb jock type. He wore a crop top, short shorts, very tan, and he was the only one out of everyone who ended up finding a relationship and like hooking up with somebody like during
during
all of this.
He sleeps with the secretary, which
the radio station.
Because Adam Sandler is not in here, the people that really have to take the reign, or the guy who really has to take the reins, is Brendan Fraser. And I love Brendan Fraser. I think I talked about this with Allie. A thing I really like about Brendan Fraser is he, every actor, they kind of have like their posse, the actors or the directors that they usually work with. Adam Sandler, you got David Spade and Kevin James and Rob Schneider and stuff. With Seth Rogen, you got James Franco, and
when he's not doing conspiracies when he's not doing jailbait shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, like James Franco or like Jay Baruchel or however you pronounce his name, or Danny McBride and stuff, and then Owen Will. Yeah, even like dramatic actors, you got Leo DiCaprio. Usually he's doing stuff with like Brad Pitt and Matt Damon and whatever. But the thing is, with Brendan Fraser, you never know what you're gonna get. He can kind of be in anything.
He really
he's kind of
is
just like by himself. Like you can go from like a dumb comedy like Airheads or Encino Man to like Gods and Monsters with Ian McKellen, and he's acting opposite with him.
I literally was just watching The Mummy on TV.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to say he is the greatest actor in the world, but he does do the job pretty well in most of his movies. And the fact that he can kind of take his charm to many different genres, I think is very cool. Especially because he's definitely an actor also that does not take himself too seriously. And Jed, I know we can kind of get into this, but I thought he was really good in the movie. I thought he was really solid at playing like the dumb guy that's dumb, but not too dumb to the point where he's unlikable, and he still has like kind of a good heart, even though he's not perfect.
He's honestly the most voice of reason in the film. Back to real quick about Brendan Fraser. Like, if you guys want to see him play like pretty much different roles in the same movie, but Bedazzled, with anyways, they're like different takes on his character. Anyways, he's like he's the most character with the most voice of reason, but he's also like flawed, but it's not like too crazy. And I wasn't expecting him to be the main source of laughs. I mean, yes, to a degree, he was going to have some laughs. I was expecting it mainly from Adam Sandler and Steve Buscemi, which I don't know. It still was kind of like Like Steve Buscemi is what he is in the movie. He's the creepy guy that lives out of a crappy apartment and does bullshit jobs. And Adam Sandler plays his brother, right? If I remember right.
Yes, they're brothers, but that really does not have any bearing on the story. It does not
have a huge deal. But they live together, and then Adam Sandler's just kind of has to get told what to do, and it's just I don't know. Like there wasn't like a lot. It wasn't like a lot of chemistry here. I'm gonna be honest. Even amongst the big alum that is Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler.
Steve Buscemi honestly could have been played by anybody in this movie.
Really could
have.
The most forgettable role.
Yeah, which is really weird because I love Steve Buscemi, and when you see Steve Buscemi plays this crazy guy that's gonna hold a radio station hostage, you expect him to get really over the top, but he really doesn't have a ton to work with. The only thing he really does is he's the one that kind of starts the whole thing because he gets angry enough to where he pulls out the gun first.
I wish he was very eccentric. I think it would have been fun for a metalhead. He just felt out of place, and I'll leave it at that. Do we want to get into the meaty potatoes.
The nitty gritty is essentially, because we didn't discuss all of the characters, because you've got Brendan Fraser. He is the main guy. He's got a girlfriend who
Yeah, that's really how it starts out. Yeah, with him and his girlfriend.
He breaks into a radio station, or not, no, like a record executive's
it starts
office
off
building. He like breaks in and he tries to give him his demo tape, and he's like, "No, okay, dude, I'm not doing this." And then he leaves, and then he has an argument with his girlfriend, who's loves wearing leopard spandex, and then he throws all of the stuff out.
I want to stress how much pain I felt for this woman when this dude fucking threw her fucking makeup, or not threw, but had the makeup, her makeup drop into the toilet. That shit's expensive, man.
That's right.
It felt somewhat out of place, but I'm also like, dude, this dude's an asshole. Like, what the fuck? They're like, oh no, yeah, it's just makeup, man. That shit's expensive, bro.
They do try to paint Brendan Fraser as kind of being down on his luck, but he is kind of a dick, and every single point that his girlfriend made was correct. He even said I got a record deal, and she's like, oh, awesome, and she's like, well, okay, well, not really. I gave him the album, and he didn't listen to it, and we actually don't have the record deal, but whatever. And it's well, then why the fuck did you say that?
Unsolicited. Yeah, no, it's what? Oh yeah, I'm busting ass, but in reality, I'm just not making the right plays,
That's the thing I'll complain about, because there's a couple parts in the movie where they're like, yeah, man, people don't get it. We've been busting our ass, and no one's gonna give us a chance. And the movie doesn't really show that. They needed a scene where they're playing their song to a venue, and it's completely empty or whatever, and then it's just damn, man, nobody's coming.
Yeah, I had no sympathy.
All the bigger names get all these corporate backing with all these marketing, and we don't have anything. But all they do is they made one song, and then they're just kind of harass higher ups.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, because I was just I thought that would be added. Sometimes you do in reality, that's stupid, but I thought it was gonna be used in the grand scheme of comedy. It was gonna be a punchline to a degree, but they kind of underutilize it, and they're trying to ramp up the sympathy for them. But it's man, we haven't even really seen them hustle ass. They just fucking a single song. We haven't even seen them played gigs or anything like that. And they're like, man, we're gonna get it big. We just need our break. How have you even tried getting a break? You're just fucking stalking people.
Have y'all seen King of Comedy?
I have not.
I'm afraid not, sir.
This movie was the King of Comedy if the movie sided with the creepy guy who's trying to cheat his way up the system. That really stood out on my second watch, where I was I don't know if I agree with the morals of this 100%, because spoilers, they do kind of get a record deal at the end. They become really famous, but it's I don't think they learned anything. It was weird, because it also ends like King of Comedy. It also ends with them going to jail, and then because they're in jail, that's what makes them really famous. That's what makes everyone buy their album, but not necessarily because they're talented, but just because of the media story behind them. But it's instead of having that be kind of the joke, and kind of being ironic and having something to say about whether it's really talent or fame, or whether it's just do you have a good story behind you, and do you have media backing that really gets you ahead? It's instead just haha, it's a happy ending. And I thought that part was really weird.
It should have been over the top, this movie, and it did not feel like that at all.
Well, there's definitely over the top moments in the movie. Well, there's actually a pretty big cast of supporting characters that we can get into, but to start off with, Kramer is an executive at the studio when it all goes down, and he's in
he goes full Die Hard mode, dude.
Yeah, he's crawling in the vents, and he's talking to the outside, to the SWAT team that's trying to take out the Airheads, which they're not called the Airheads in the movie. They're called the Lone Rangers, which is a joke in and of itself, but I kept just wanting to call them Airheads. Kramer talking with the outside and stuff. That whole kind of subplot where he's just in the vents and he's the inside man. that was definitely trying to make it very over the top and stuff. I don't really think it worked.
No,
that subplot overall, but they were trying to make it very over the top, and they do have some stuff because they have cops outside, cuts back between inside and outside the parking lot where all the cops are there, and they at one point have to find Brendan Fraser's girlfriend because she has a tape to the song because the original tape is destroyed,
Yeah, these
And
guys came up in '94 with a fucking audio reel tape, not
well,
a
that's
cassette
because it
tape.
was more authentic, Jed.
Oh god. Oh god. Ask anyone who makes music these days. It's like, just get up with the fucking times. Authentic my ass. Anyways, I mean, I mean, obviously it was a joke. It was a plot. I'm just being facetious, but I don't know. It
Of
didn't
course,
hit.
of course.
It was one of those things where it was just like too tone deaf. I don't know. I'm just being an
Yeah.
asshole.
But no, because I mean, Chris Farley plays a cop in this movie, and we
There need
kind
to
of
be
follow
more
his
Chris
escapades.
fucking Farley, dude. There needed to be
There
more
really
Chris
did.
Farley.
Yeah, he
What there was of him was pretty good.
and that's clearly trying to be over the top when he like takes out a guy's like nipple piercing and stuff because he's
Yeah.
being a dick to him or whatever.
After he rips off his cop badge.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna say that there's like this movie is like playing it straight or it's not over the top enough, because I think it's over the top enough. Like, I don't think it needs to be super out there, but I think it gets the job done for what it is, in my opinion.
Poorly executed.
I don't know. Yeah. I guess I just don't agree that it's poorly executed. I agree it could have been better, but I think overall it was fine for what it needed to be.
Fair.
Yeah, well, I do think they do try to get into sort of the kind of the nuances of rock, because the main radio DJ who works at the station, Ian the Shark, played by Joy Mantenga.
Yes.
Mantenga? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yo no sé, hombre, I don't know.
Alright, I'll edit it later, the correct version. But he's at first initially kind of supportive of the band. He understands, their troubles and stuff. He's the one that kind of lets him talk on the air until they take over the hostage situation, because the manager of the station, played by the older brother from Better Call Saul, which I thought was pretty surprising. Later in the movie, he's kind of like, he's very sympathetic to them. He's kind of giving them advice like, yo, man, you got to actually make demands if you're going to take us hostage or whatever. But he is also like
surprised by his character. He was kind of cool. He was sympathetic out of everyone else in the movie.
But there's also parts in the movie where he's talking about like, man, rock today isn't like the old school rock. The rock scene is dead. Yeah. And then that's where him and Brendan Fraser get into it a little bit. And then Brendan Fraser's like, I'm tired of everyone saying that classic rock's amazing. And then there's a part where Ian says, rock back in the day actually said something. And then Brendan Fraser's like, are you going to seriously tell me Purple Haze actually had something to say? And there's stuff like that in there that I actually think is like, interesting. Like, it's not just like they did a little bit more research than I would give them credit for this kind of broad comedy. To me, you know what I mean?
I'm going to be honest, like lines like that to me were like very tone deaf. I don't know. Like,
take a drink every time Jed says tone deaf in this episode.
Yes,
because
please
because we're definitely about to say it when we get to the scene. But
oh god, it's just what I kept thinking about with this movie as it kept chugging along, and then we'll get to the climax here in a bit. But it's just like in the '90s, like a lot of guys embraced classic. Nirvana wouldn't have been Nirvana without Black Sabbath. That's one of their biggest influences. And all that shit was just, they appreciated the old stuff, new stuff was getting made, and even to this fucking day, 25 years later, it's like, bro, there's no new good music. Gene Simmons, like, rock is dead. Like, no, bro, you just gotta know where to fucking look, and it's not gonna be on a fucking radio. I just get tired of hearing this shit, and it's just like, if you're gonna do it, make it fucking, like, whimsical and over the top, instead of just, like, we're philosophical. But I just get tired of constantly hearing that the old shit sucks, or the old stuff was great. There's nothing. But
that's
new.
What the movie's trying to play into, is that like mindset is kind of stupid,
Fair. There, maybe that is. I don't know. It felt like everything just felt like it missed the mark. And get ready your shot glasses. It was immensely tone deaf.
Oh my god. that dude who just watched Airheads, who was crying earlier just to watch this episode, is now dead from all the alcohol that he just drank from the tone deaf line.
Pour yourself a Lemmy. It's a Jack and Coke.
By the way, can we point out a very weird and bad joke where the plot twist, the radio station is being taken over because the main guy's changing it to a soft rock station, and he said, oh, by the way, you're all getting fired.
It was like an ambient yoga, maybe it's soft rock. Anyways, go ahead.
I think it was ambient yoga. But anyway,
Yeah.
he says, we're going to get all new employees. And everyone's like, oh. And then the girl who Adam Sandler sleeps with, the secretary, is like, ugh, all those blowjobs were for nothing.
Oh, God.
That was a little bit of a yikes. Like, it kind of that joke pretty much died.
Especially since they try to be so progressive in other ways and really like inappropriate ways. Yeah.
But hey, man, let's talk about like the heart and soul White Zombie poured into their fucking song in this movie, "Feed the Gods," and I never thought I'd see Chris Farley moshing to White Zombie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, why don't, you know what, because we're already on the FBI informant, why don't we just rip off the Band-Aid and get into this this part? So
I'm gonna be honest. This was the hardest I ever laughed in this whole fucking movie because I just was not expecting it.
Okay, to give context about like what we're talking about, they first kind of introduced this kind of social justice. I don't know, like
Guy's like the audio engineer for the station.
a black guy.
yeah, him. Adam Sandler has this whole subplot. His whole character is just being kind of dumb, going along with it, doesn't really know what he's doing, hooking up with the secretary, and also trying to figure out why black people don't like him.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, yeah, I can
Oh
I can
God, I
talk
forgot
about
about that. Holy
Yes.
shit.
At one
Yeah.
point, I think there's a secretary, like a front desk person.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a
Oh my
black
God.
woman.
This made
They're
me feel so awkward.
they're peeking out at the large audience that is, outside, and all the police and everything. And he asked her, "Why don't black people like me?" And I think this is after the encounter he has with the audio engineer.
Yeah,
Yes,
it starts
was.
with it starts with the audio engineer, because the audio engineer, for some reason, when Milo's the manager, the head of the radio station, is like, "Hey man, we need you to bring out the reels so that way they can play this song or whatever," and he's like, "Wow, man, this is just what being a black in this country is all about. Just listening to the white man and getting no respect," which kind of out the bat kind of comes out of nowhere, but then
Yeah.
when he's doing the reel, Adam Sandler's like, I understand your struggle, man. I listen to rap, and it's just
Oh,
like,
no.
where is this coming from, and where is this going? And then you get to the scene with the secretary, and
Two different secretaries, by the way.
Oh yeah, two different. Yeah, I guess we should say that the black secretary. We should set up that there's an FBI informant. Yeah, there's an FBI informant. So go from there.
Yeah. Kramer, basically, right? We're talking about
No,
Kramer.
it's Harold Ramis.
That's right. Okay. God, I'm blanking. Yeah, Harold Ramis. I couldn't remember if he was supposed to be a legitimate Yeah, Harold Ramis comes up. Another cameo here. Very somewhat underutilized, but it's more like how he was. He was more funny and knocked up. That was a cameo, but he was funny. I feel like Ramis was kind of underutilized, but I mean, it's not like it's a cameo. It's not like it has to be like significant lines.
Yeah.
FBI informant. He's coming in. They do the whole like Steve Buscemi asks him who would win in a fight, God or Lemmy, and he's like Lemmy, and he's like trick question. Lemmy's both God and
Lemmy is God.
Lemmy, that's it. That's what it was. Lemmy is God. Anyways, so they get all pissy and they're like, they're trying to take us down. And Brendan Fraser hops up on a car. And I can't remember what he just say something like "down with the pigs" or something like that. It was such a blur.
All of a sudden, he's talking about they're trying to take us down.
Yeah.
And he
then he
starts chanting.
Yeah, he starts fucking chanting out of nowhere. Unprecedented, unnecessary. Rodney King, Rodney King, Rodney King. Like, it'd be one thing if he was saying, like, fuck the cops or some shit like that and said this. These motherfuckers are trying to stop you from taking people hostage. Like, supposed gunpoint.
They
And
are.
you're like, Rodney King.
Out of the blue. Completely.
It was intense and it was taking itself seriously. I'm like, I felt awkward. And then the the peak moment. The peak motherfucking moment.
Yes.
The fucking icing on the cake. The cream and the Twinkie, ladies and gentlemen, is when it cuts to our black audio engineer for the radio station. The man who is very critical of the system. Cuts to him and he's like, "Who's Rodney King?" And me? I wanted to fucking jump off a fucking bridge. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I don't know what they were trying to say, what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, like...
And by the way, Jed, who's the one that tells him who Rodney King is?
Did anyone tell him?
No, Adam Sandler told him. And he said he's
oh
that
my
guy.
God, dude. What the... I forgot about... A lot of this shit I put at the back of my head. Oh my God. And this was a week ago I watched this. God, Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Ding, ding, ding. This fucking part is the definition of tone deaf. I just can't believe this happened. Like, this is kind of, why? Why do this? And I laughed my ass off for all the wrong reasons. I just couldn't believe it. That's why that was the hardest I laughed during this whole movie was Rodney King. And I'm like, what the fuck?
And tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe that later on, the audio engineer, which he's a hostage, he's a victim. He gets dragged off by the cops whenever he is finally freed.
Yeah, because they try to do a joke where they are like, oh, well, obviously he's the bad guy because he's black, which is like not earned at all throughout the movie.
Yeah, it would have been, all right, for like even without the bullshit before, it would have been more funny without all the other shit. Because like, I mean, obviously that's a joke that's been done before, but like at that point you're just like kicking this whole fucking thing while it's reeling on the ground. Like, why, dude? This is so idiotic. Like,
you gotta take your time if you want to like talk about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that should be the focal point of the movie. That shouldn't just be like, because I mean, it is the focal point of that scene. Like, it's not just like it's an aside joke or whatever. It's like, damn, they really want you to hate cops and hate authority like a true rock star. But like that, it does not. It comes off very unlikable because Rodney King was like got beaten the shit out of for like no reason. These guys are like doing an actual like hostage situation. It's not the same. Like, you guys are actually in the wrong. It's like when Jake Paul used like the Black Lives Matter protest to go like rob a store and like steal some t-shirts or whatever. It came off like that, honestly. Like,
I could understand maybe, not that it would be funny at all, but I could understand the joke maybe if the black audio engineer, whose name I don't know anyone's names.
I don't remember anyone's name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If he kind of rolled his eyes at it and was like, oh god, these idiots. So maybe
that would have been so much better.
Yeah, like maybe it's making fun of them being like well-meaning but really tone deaf and stupid white guys who don't know what they're doing.
Take a shot.
Yeah, but then they have him not knowing who Rodney King is. So I'm like, okay, I really don't know what they're trying to do now.
The only explanation I have is, so the movie's directed by Michael Lehman. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And he directed another movie called Heathers, which is a favorite of mine. And Heathers has a lot of social commentary in it about, like teen suicide and stuff, and kind of the media's obsession with suicide. And I don't know if he was like trying to insert just some random social commentary into this movie just because, or maybe the script was supposed to be more like satirical, like it was poking fun at the band in a way, but like the guy who directed it just didn't understand that and played it too straight. But I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know.
It has an identity crisis.
Yeah, it does a lot of things at once. And then I guess we could just kind of skip to the ending. So they get like a record contract. They get like the guy who they were trying to give their demo at the beginning of the movie to come down to the radio station and sign them, because now these guys are like megastars. Milo, the manager, he runs the radio station, is like, I want 10% of the cut when I get you signed with these guys. And then Brendan Fraser is about to sign with them, and then Adam Sandler comes out. He's like, hey, I got the demo all set up. And Brendan Fraser's like, what, you didn't even hear it and you're gonna sign us? And he's like, well, I mean, I listened to it. Yeah, I'm sure it's good though. And Brendan Fraser like wipes his ass with the contract, which is a pretty rock and roll thing to do. And then it's like, all right, perfect. That's like, it gets the message out. It gets to the whole heart of, you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the music, you're in it for the rock and roll spirit. But then he just signs the contract again.
Yeah, that was tone deaf. Nerd alert.
And then later they are like, well, I guess I don't know. Does the tape not work or something? Because then the record producer calls in. He's like, they have another demand, and they get like this giant sound stage.
Yeah,
and then they're gonna perform their song on the sound stage. And then they go to play the song, and they're playing it, and then they realize their instruments aren't plugged in. And then they're like, wait a minute, you don't care about us. You just care about the money, man. The deal's off. And it's like, well, why didn't you just do that earlier when you were in the radio station, when you wiped your ass with the contract? Like, that's all you needed. Like, you don't need this other thing that basically explains the exact same thing that we came to the conclusion with earlier. Not only that, but you also don't even really get to hear the song that they've been building up through the entire movie because they're talking over it. Well, you do at the end when they dissolve and it's the middle of the song and they're in prison. They get arrested. They don't get away with it, obviously. They're playing in prison. The radio host is now their manager. I gotta say, for a song that they have been building up this entire movie, it sucks. It's not a good song.
It's garbage.
I thought the joke was going to be like, after all of this build-up, they play the song and everybody hates it, and everybody turns on them, and they basically like go to jail and they have to start over or whatever, like they learn a lesson or anything. But they don't do that. Instead, it just ends with them being like, their album Live in Prison reached triple platinum. Like, it doesn't feel earned.
No, it's just all over the place.
Allie, what are your thoughts on the ending?
I mean, I feel like you said it best.
I do think the ending kind of missed the mark, but overall, I still thought it was a good time, I guess.
It was fine and forgettable.
Yeah, I guess that's how I would put it, which is probably why this will be a much shorter episode than Hubie Halloween, which was the most unforgettable film that we've ever experienced. Yeah, overall, I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty funny, but I will say, after kind of talking about it more, and after watching it with Jed, and seeing his reaction to it, I do like it less.
To be fair, I don't think that it's a movie that really should be watched more than once or really analyzed. I don't think it was really like built for that.
But that is our job. So
that's true.
Yes. The main reason I was just so underwhelmed because I just heard about it over the years. I was hoping it was gonna like have a lot more, would be a little bit more in touch, but it just wasn't. And I don't know why I expected more, but that was my downfall, I suppose.
I guess we already gave our final thoughts, so this is time for the official Sandman Chronicles ranking of the films. So we're kind of, I guess, each give our own rating, and then we'll do the aggregate, and that's going to be the official rating of Airheads. I guess we'll start with you, Jed, as the metalhead. What did you think of this? What would you rate it?
What is the rating standing? Like, what is it? 1 out of 5?
Just out of 10.
Out of 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, out of 10, I will give it 4 Adam Sandler cut-off tops out of 10.
All right, that's fair. Allie, what about you?
I guess I'd give it a 5 for Adam Sandler in a crop top and Daisy Dukes, pretty much.
Oh, shit.
Let's put it into the official Sandman Chronicles computer.
That's your home!
All right.
Are you too good for your home?
The official Sandman Chronicles rating of Airheads is a 4.66, so just call it a 4.5, whatever. Basically a 5 or a 4. Not that great, though, unfortunately.
I thought it was fine, but I will say, if you're watching it thinking, okay, maybe it'll just be fun to watch, you know, see Steve Buscemi, Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler playing off of each other, you know, even if it's not that good, probably not the best movie for you to watch, because they really don't interact very much.
Yeah.
I just
There's
realized
a lot
that.
of chemistry, but if you're just wanting to watch like a stupid comedy that maybe your dad has seen a couple times, go for it.
This would be good to play at like 2 p.m. on like TBS or something.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. I do feel bad we didn't talk about Adam Sandler much, but I mean, I don't feel like he gave us a lot to chew on, not a lot to talk about.
He really didn't. I didn't expect him to have as minor of a role that he had.
Yeah, and he's third billed, and he's taken up like a third of the poster, so you think that, I don't know, they focus on him a tiny bit more, but whatever.
I will say that his acting skills did improve from a little we saw him from Going Overboard.
Yeah, that's been our time discussing Airheads. Our next episode, we're either going to be talking about Mixed Nuts, which is like a Christmas movie, but it's a big ensemble cast, and Adam Sandler, I know, is in it, but I don't know how big of a part he plays. So I don't want this to be another situation where we're barely talking about Adam Sandler again. So if I look it up and he's not in it very much, we are going to get into the big whopper, the breakout role for Adam Sandler, Billy Madison. And I cannot wait.
Do you have any more gum? More gum? Do you have any more gum?
So thank you, Jed. And thank you, Jed, for your insight onto Airheads.
Thanks, man. Anytime.
All right. And we will all see you next time on the Sandman Chronicles.